So you depart at the starting position and you arrive at the ending position. Logically, if you aren't stable in those stationary positions, you won't be able to build a good foundation for your shifts. If that makes sense to you, then I can show you the step-by-step basics of how to shift on the violin. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing amazing today. If you're new here, my name is Sumina and I'm a Juilliard-trained violinist, violin teacher, content creator based in New York City. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the very basics of how to shift on the violin. So that includes the definition of a good shift, good technique habits, as well as what scale books I recommend to you as a violin teacher and entry-level exercises for you to try. So this is part 1 of the shifting videos. So make sure that you're subscribed and turn on the notification bell so that you won't miss part 2, in which we're going to be talking about advanced exercises and tips. Also, you are watching a Learn With Me video where I show you how to practice smarter and not longer. And in order for this video to make sense, you really got to watch until the end because the points that I'm going to be talking about sort of stack on top of each other. So be sure to watch until the end and let's get into the video. Before you ask me how to shift on the violin, we need to make sure that you understand what a shift really is. By definition, shifts are the movement between one position to another on a stringed instrument. This way, we have a much wider variety of notes to play on a fingerboard of a stringed instrument, and we are much more versatile. So what exactly is a good shift anyways? A good shift moves just the right amount of distance on a fingerboard, resulting in satisfying intonation. When we shift too far or too little, our left hand gets disoriented on the fingerboard, and that can really influence our intonation for the worse. The other thing that makes a shift very good is the cleanliness of a shift. Now this factor goes hand in hand with having stable shifts. Shifting insecurely can cause us to unintentionally glissando between notes, and that can definitely impair our musical interpretation. For example, when you play a disproportionate amount of glissandi in a Baroque era piece, that could even be considered bad taste, because back in the Baroque era, they would not really use that many glissandi, if any. So what are the key factors for a good shift? First of all, a good, solid shift movement technique, as well as a confident commitment to the position that you're actually shifting towards. Let's talk about shift movement technique first. Some overall rules if you are newer to shifting. Number 1, shifting leading with your elbow. Oftentimes I see my violin students lead a shift with the hands or the fingers, but if you think about it, that way, your elbow sort of gets stuck behind, kind of like this. If you lead with your elbow though, your hand and your fingers don't have a choice but to shift along. It is key that your whole left arm posture is in the right spot for the departure position as well as the arrival position. Another rule is that the base of your thumb should never fully wrap around the neck of your violin. This causes immobility, creating a bad habit and sort of locking you in a rigid position. That just makes your life way harder than it has to be in the future when you're doing more difficult techniques. And the last thing we want to do is to form and nurture bad habits. Am I right? Now here's a little bonus tip for all parents and teachers working with younger students. I suggest you loosely wrap a scarf around your student's elbow so they can really grasp the feeling of what it feels like to lead with the elbow. That helped me a lot as a child, and this is what it should look like. As you can see, the violin stays put, and if you pull gently, the elbow is supposed to move effortlessly. Alright, so let's talk about level 1. In this level, we focus on becoming familiar with the foundations of shifting. First things first, start off with learning one position scales. As I said before, shifting can bring some instability into your left hand, so you want to make sure that the positions are absolutely solid. The scale book that I personally grew up with is the Ivan Galamian Contemporary Violin Technique Volume 1. It is a staple in my bookshelf, and I make all of my students work their way through the Galamian scales, so I will link the book in the description down below if you want to check it out. This book has great scales for just one position, so I definitely suggest you are super fluent in the first position, second position, and third positions, which are the A, B, and C major and minor scales. However, for some reason, there is no G major minor scale in that book. So I actually created a free downloadable printable PDF document for you. It's in the description down below and ready for you to download. Please let me know what you think of it because I've never actually created a PDF like this. So yeah, open to feedback as well. Hope it helps. Now, to add some spice, you can totally do some punctuations so that your positions are super solid and coordinated and ready to go for the shifts that are about to happen. By the way, if you haven't seen my last Learn With Me video yet, it was all about slow practice, very important, and I actually show you a step-by-step tutorial on how to do punctuator practice as well. So if you want a step-by-step tutorial on how to do punctuations on the violin, you can totally do so up here. So once you are familiar with each one of those positions, you're actually ready to start shifting. So let's talk about the first exercise. You start off with individual fingers, okay? So you only use one finger at a time for this exercise. So first off, shift from the first position, first finger, up to the third position, first finger, and back down. Do this on each single string, so the G, D, A, E strings. It should sound something like this. So this is the G string. Moving on to the D string. And that's the A string. And finishing the exercise with the E string. And then you can also do the same thing with the second finger. So you start off on the first position, second finger, go up to the third position, second finger as well, and back down to the first position, second finger. And this is what that would sound like. The reason that we're actually skipping over the second position is because the third position is considered more stable. So you sort of want to solidify the first position and the third position first, and then we can do the same exact exercise with first position to second position. So that would sound like this: first finger on the first position, first finger on the second position, and back to first position with the first finger as well. I feel like I'm saying a tongue twister at this point, so this is what it should sound like. And then we move on to the second finger in the first position, second finger in the second position, second finger in the first position. Throughout this whole exercise, do not forget, what's the most important thing? Shift leading with your elbow. I know it's tempting, but really lead with your elbow and you should be fine. So that exercise was all about individual fingers, and now we're gonna move on to combo fingerings, okay? So you go from the first position, first finger, to second finger, third position, and back down to first position, first finger. Do that on all strings, and then you can do the same thing with first finger in the first position, third finger in the third position, first finger in the first position. And then of course you do the same exact thing with the first position, first finger, to second position, second finger, first position, first finger. And finally, first position, first finger, second position, third finger, back to first position, first finger. And you can do that on all strings as well. So it's basically the same exercise all over again. It's a combo movement. You can absolutely include the fourth finger or any kind of combo within those fingers, just saying. The reason I chose to show you mostly just the first three fingers is because those are the most basic ones. They're the most foundation type of fingers, because the fourth finger is usually very dependent of the other three fingers because of something that I refer to my students as the left hand knuckle frame, like finger frame. So you definitely want to include exercising the fourth finger in this exercise. However, really solidify the first three fingers until you incorporate that one as well. These exercises, by the way, are inspired by a book called Exercises for Change of Position by Joost. So I'll link that in the description down below as well for you to check out. So now, if you have difficulty with the stability of your shifts, I got a tip for you. Something called supporting notes. Supporting notes. They are exactly what they sound like. It's like training wheels for a bike. The only difference being that I still use them today. It's so ingrained in my technique and absolutely a must. For exercise, play out the supporting note loudly and proudly. So 1, 1, 2, because then your ear gets trained to really want to hear a supporting note. And that way you're actually executing that motion. This is what it would fully sound like. So I do a first finger on the E, then supporting note on the F sharp to get to the second position. And then I play the third finger on that A. To make it smoother, you would make it faster, so it's less audible. And finally, you would try to completely eliminate the sound of it, like this. So here's the example of Brahms Sonata number 2 in A major, first movement, bar 23. This summarizes the foundations of shifting on the violin. If these exercises were too basic and too easy for you, and you want to see the advanced ones in part 2 of the shifting videos, please consider subscribing to my channel. And as always, I'm only one person, so I only have one life experience. So if you want to share your own tips or your own thoughts in the comments down below, please do so, and we can get a dialogue started and learn from each other. That's the beauty of the internet, right? If you've learned something new today, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. It does help me with the YouTube algorithm. I hope you have a great weekend ahead of you. Don't forget to shift leading with your elbow. I'm Sumina. Thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.